let me tell you something. We were just talking to Barry Diller about mergers with things like AT&T, and I don't want to hit that thing, and Time Warner. We really haven't heard anything, have we? Charlie Gasparino was hearing something. Charlie, we knew that Donald Trump, before he was elected, didn't like the idea. What's happening now?
Well, we don't know what he thinks now. There's a report out, I believe, on Bloomberg News that he has told a confidant he's against the deal. I've been told to hold off on that the debate inside the Trump camp is not over yet. But here's what we do know, and it's some of the stuff that you and I have been talking about now, Liz, for a couple of weeks, that there's growing sentiment among his senior advisors that he should kill this deal. And some of those senior advisors are both internal, like Steve Bannon, who wants to kill the deal, scuttle the AT&T planned merger with Time Warner, and an outside confidant, a guy named Chris Ruddy, who, as you know, Chris Ruddy runs Newsmax, the conservative website, and that does have a TV component to it. We should point out that Bannon, before he joined the Trump team, was the CEO of Breitbart News, which is a website, a right-leaning website. Plus, there's always been talk about Breitbart starting its own TV component. Now, why does that matter for anybody that puts out content? Well, if you have TV as part of your website, you also often need the pipes to distribute it through, and AT&T has those pipes. And the creation of AT&T with Time Warner, which owns CNN, would pose a very big competitive advantage for CNN over these other websites. We should point out that when Trump attacked this deal, he was doing it more on the sort of notion of fairness. I mean, he thought CNN was very unfair, and when this deal came about, he was not going to, his whole notion that I am not going to aid and abet an unfair news organization by making it stronger and bigger with this merger. So that was his comments back then. Here's what I would say, Liz, and this is an arbitrage's dream, arbitrageur. These are traders that go in there and trade for or against a deal going through. The reason why this is really interesting is because, yes, senior advisors to Trump, like Bannon, like Chris Ruddy, an outside guy, Bannon's inside guy, are prodding him, and they both have his ear. We know that. Bannon's the reason why Trump won the election. His strategy helped him win the election. There's no doubt about that. So he cares a lot about Bannon, and he's very close to Chris Ruddy, who was at Mar-a-Lago over the New Year's break. They want him to scuttle the deal. That said, this is a much more pro-business administration. You have people that are in the SEC, people that are going to be in the FCC, which has to approve the deal, Federal Communications Commission, and at the Justice Department, who are much more free market oriented, who generally want deals like this to go through. And you have Donald Trump in the middle, who hasn't said anything since the election. So that's where we are right now. I'm not going to go as far as Bloomberg did to say that he's against this deal right now. I've been told not to go there. But clearly, a lot of people that have his ear, meaning Bannon, meaning Chris Ruddy, want him to kill the deal. And if you notice, the stock, it initially tanked basically on the Bloomberg story. It's come back off its lows on some of our reporting, which is saying that this isn't a done deal just yet in terms of Donald Trump's thinking. So if you really get into it, Bloomberg didn't do much more than what we did over the last couple of weeks, which say that there are people prodding him to kill the deal, and there are important people like Bannon and Chris Ruddy. So that's where we are right now. It's an interesting thing. I mean, at some point, you would think Donald would speak on this. Hopefully he tells you, Liz. You should ask him.
Mayor Giuliani said if you look back in history, Charlie, that Republicans tend to be tougher on big mergers. Democrats like to work on things like securities, fraud, etc., but they really work hard on these. They're tougher on these kinds of mergers.
The Obama administration was very tough on mergers, and
which is weird that Donald Trump would then be.
Well, I think it was, he hated CNN. He thought CNN was unfair to him. And, whether there was, I think he makes a good case with some of that. But, whether he's going to hold up a deal because of that, well, Donald might do that. Donald's known to play tough, And like I said, there's having Chris Ruddy and Bannon in your ear, that's a lot. That's a lot.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what's tough. Watching you and me on a gigantic TV that's so thin, you could slap it up like a dorm room poster on your wall.